What is good, YouTube? Quinway basketball analysis coming to y'all with a quick video. I didn't give y'all a rundown last week, so I'll try to give y'all one probably later on this week. But we're gonna talk about contenders. We're post trade deadline at this point, post All Star weekend. There's a lot of teams that's putting themselves in a conversation to have a good closure to the season, and matchups and stuff will be based on after the play in, and teams will be locked in at that point of who they're facing the first round, which we still don't know. A lot of teams are close in records, so with a couple weeks left to go in the season, we just don't know who will face who yet. But when I look at this season, and when I look at this season, it's a couple teams that stand out. There's some teams that still have, some questions that they still have time to figure out as the season continues to come to an end, and also matchup based and injuries and COVID, all this crazy stuff been happening. So you never really know what happens in the playoffs until it happens. So I want to tell you what I done seen from these teams throughout the season and how I feel about them now and why I think they're contenders and why I think they're not. So, honorable mentions, the Grizzlies, I still don't look at them as a contender just because I still have to see them beat the best teams when they matter most. And it's not saying that they can't, it's not saying that they won't. They haven't done it yet, at the end of the day. So, Moran has had a breakout season this year. I had him as a rookie of the year. I had him as a guy that was going to be an all-star coming into the season. He has been that, but he has been better than a lot of us has thought as the season has continued to go on. So I look at this team as interesting. They can play defense. They can score in a variety of ways. He is fun. He is exciting. He is flashy. But I also look at the fact that this team, when you look at them as a team in general, they still have some questions defensively. They still have some questions how they're gonna guard certain players, and when other guys are healthy, we don't really know the roster is gonna be until the playoffs start, and injuries and stuff can go on throughout the playoffs and even in the series that they'll be in. But we know that Ja Morant can score. We seen that last playoff series that he had against the Jazz, but guys didn't step up around him. Jaren Jackson hasn't been consistent offensively, especially when he shares the floor with Ja Morant. Desmond Bane has been a solid shooter. Dylan Brooks has been inconsistent. He'll be coming off the bench now, so we don't really know we're gonna get from him each and every night because we didn't even know that before. And this season, he's been out a lot this season. And you also look at the rest of this roster. Things have changed. Things have continued to move on within this roster as the season has continued to go on. So I like this roster for the most part, but you got other teams that I want to mention in this video at the end of the day that I think are still better than the Grizzlies. They're still rising. They're still having fun, being excited, being a team that's winning the highest seed that they have ever been with John Moran as their best player. But I also still want to see them against the best when it matters most, when everything is on the line. And they haven't won the playoff series. They continue to build right habits, continue to build as a team. And the problem now is they got to beat the best when it matters most. And they haven't done that yet as a team. But they're young, they're hungry, they're having fun, they're enjoying the moment. Now we just have to see them in the biggest moments, beating the best teams, the best players when it matters most, and they haven't done that as a team yet. And now we have to see if they will. The Sixers, a lot of people like this team, but we haven't seen enough of them. We know that Joel Embiid had this team within the top six for the most part, or higher this season basically by itself. But adding James Harden, like I said in my live video, he does, struggle in the clutch. Joel Embiid has flopped a lot in the clutch. Tobias Harris has been MIA and going ghost throughout his whole entire career, especially in the playoffs. And you need him to be the best version of himself, especially defensively and offensively. And he disappears on both. They don't have Curry anymore. Maxey has showed out for the most part this season, having a career high season and points and a lot of other categories. And a lot of people have him in the most improved player of the year race. We don't know if he's going to win it yet, but I already predicted that before the season started, so it's not a surprise to me that he's in that conversation. But they have the cutters, they have guys that can make shots, they have guys that can create their own shot, they have guys that can dominate games when shots are hidden. They got some guys that are not the greatest shooter, not the best shooters, not the best fit. They have some solid defenders on the bench and also throughout the roster when they're engaged, when they want to play, when they try. But ultimately, they have the talent. They have Doc Rivers. They flopped a lot throughout the Joel Embiid era, throughout his time, and he has been one of the big floppers too in the playoffs, continually to come up short, just like Harden has. But now with them together, this is what Harden supposed to want to be. Joel Embiid is having his best season. We'll see how it ends. We'll see what he does in the playoffs. It's two completely different things. But at the end of the day, they have enough. They're good enough to beat anybody. We just have to see if they can, especially because Ben Simmons is gone. Ben Simmons has been consistently named as the problem and the problem and the problem for this team. Now the problem is now gone permanently, and now they can focus on going in a different direction, which they already have shown that they can play together, they can play well. Now we just have to see them against the best, and that's what we'll see when it matters most in the playoffs. The Miami Heat, I always felt like they was a contender this entire season, but they had a lot of guys in and out, a lot of guys injured. Jimmy Butler missed a lot of time, but he has been pretty good when he's healthy and still has been one of the best defenders. Bam has been one of the best defenders, hasn't really had that all-star Bam season that he was years ago, but they don't really need him to. They have a lot more pieces. They have a lot of weapons. They have Kyle Lowry now. Tyler Hero's having the best season of his career, especially coming off the bench. Duncan Robinson disappeared a little bit, but he gets some open shots, and maybe he'll make them, maybe he'll miss them. He's been missing them throughout this entire season, and we'll see what happens at the end of the day with that. But they can defend. They got a good coach. They also got a good star player. They play hard. They when they're focused, and offense can still be a little inconsistent. They still can get a little jammed as an offensive team. But at the same time, we still have to see how this team is going to play when they're all together. And we haven't really seen that throughout the entire season. And that's going to be a problem, as the playoffs start and you want your best guys available, playing their best basketball, playing on the same page. And, they have been able to be number one right now with all this chaos, the last two seasons. But last year they flopped. This year they added a lot of new pieces, and now we have to see what they do. Hopefully they're healthy. Hopefully they're playing their best basketball like they did in the bubble. If not, they're going to be a contender because they're one of the best teams in the East, but they can also be out in the first and the second round because there's other great teams in the East that's also contenders like the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks embarrassed the Miami Heat last year, but got embarrassed in the bubble by the Miami Heat. But they still have Giannis, the reigning Finals MVP. Drew Holiday has still been great defensively. He still has been a great addition to this team. Chris Middleton has still been pretty good this season. The bench has been solid. They had a lot of guys in and out like a lot of these teams, but for the most part, their main big three has been intact and been playing pretty good basketball for the most part. And you also look at the fact that this team is tough to beat in general when they're clicking. Sometimes their jump shots their team with a lot of those players been in and out. Grayson Allen's been in and out. Also, Pat Connaughton has been in and out. All their shooters been in and out besides Middleton, who also missed some time in the beginning of the season, but been back, healthy for the most part the last couple months. So a lot of these teams had a lot of guys in and out for the most part. The Bucks have still been one of the best teams in the East for multiple seasons. They're the defending champions. They still got their big three. They still got a good supporting cast. They'll be fine, at the end of the day. The Suns, I got them as a contender like I did last year. This year they've been better. They're deeper. Chris Paul still has been great. Devin Booker has been great. Aiden has been pretty solid. Even like we seen last year, Mikal Bridges has still been that perfect fit. They have a lot of guys that's been in and out like a lot of these teams, but for the most part, they still play well together. They still defend well. They still one of the toughest teams to defend because Chris Paul can break you down. They got good role players that can cut, can finish, can shoot, catch, and shoot. or even come off screens and hit shots too. So I like everything Phoenix do. Like Phoenix do a lot of things well. They play together well. They fit well. They just a well-oiled machine, at the end of the day. So that was one of the reasons why I liked the Suns a lot last year. They got the number one seed right now, and they should be able to get back to the conference finals for the most part, and we'll see who they have faced. But this team, with or without Chris Paul, can beat anybody. Will they win the title? We don't know, and that's what we'll see. But they definitely a contender. Golden State also is a contender, like everybody know. I look at Golden State as a team that has a lot of pieces coming in and out, just like a lot of these other teams. But for the most part, they got guards, they got wings, they got forwards, they got centers, they got shooters. They got a lot of firepower. The Splash Brothers are back. Draymond will be back. So this team has more talent than ever compared to the last two seasons before. I don't really know their rotations and what they're going to do when everybody's healthy and everybody's ready to go. But at the same time, this team has been pretty good this entire season. Do I think they're the best team? No, but they are a team that can win it all. If things go right, Steph is one of the most explosive, fun to watch, toughest players to defend, got good supporting cast around him, cutters, shooters, finishers, athletic bigs. He has everything that he needs right now. He just need, like a lot of these other teams to get some guys back and roles defined. That's not my job, but for the most part, the Warriors have been pretty steady as one of the best teams in the entire NBA this year, and it's really no surprise that they're a contender. Um, and other than that, that's my list. I don't really have nobody left, outside. Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis signing out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of y'all day. See y'all later. See y'all tomorrow, most likely. Other than that, we'll see what happens when the season over, playoffs start. Hopefully, guys are healthy. Hopefully, teams are ready to go, and we'll see what happens after that.